eyes go blind in a million thoughts. This life's unkind and she's killing the softest. Can't sleep at night cause the voices are talking about something I wrote. I'm clutching my throat, gasping for air. I won't choke, I can't bleed, I can't die, I won't scream if I lose everything. Don't follow the flesh, approval, decrypt a bloody knuckle till I break out the sarcophagus. This terror words and mouths, our courage never felt. Your water from my well, I'm pure.
And we are live with another one. Hello, all you BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another weekly rendition of the Biconic Review of Honor, otherwise known as the Bro. It is once again a dynamic duo this week, but hey, you know what? This is going to be an interesting review because we either are going to be on the same page or we're going to fight, because I felt one way about this, and I'm interested to hear what my other co-host, Mr. Braun Breakfast himself, Jesse, has to say about that. Jesse, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I can't do this alone. I'm happy you're here, my friend.
I'm happy to be here. I definitely think this week was better than the past 2 weeks, more ups than downs. Let's dive in and see where you and I agree. But before we do, we have to observe the code of honor, of course.
Yes. So we stick our hands in
for the code of honor. Mikey, I'm sure you've got some housekeeping to take care of, and then we'll dive on in.
Absolutely. So as far as housekeeping goes, if you need to know where you can follow us, welcome to BC WrestlePod, where we are pretty much how is it that I put this? Where we are part of the YouTube, Twitch conglomeration all over the social media. Like, we're anywhere and everywhere. I call ourselves the bards of the professional wrestling review game because we are a jack of all trades, master of none kind of people here.
Absolutely none.
It is absolutely none, but we do our best to make it look good, so we know how to do that. Of course, you can follow us all over pretty much at BC WrestlePod on any social media you could think of. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the TikTok. We have a Patreon, we have a Venmo, we have a Cash App. We are everywhere and anywhere I can stick our name onto it. So if you're
We're not on MySpace, though, Mikey. What are we doing?
I don't know. You know what? I'm
we got to get ahead of it. We got to get back on MySpace.
You know what? I'm going to look into it. I'm going to put us on MySpace. It's going to be fantastic. But if you're wondering, that's a lot of social medias. Is there a singular place that I can find you all? You most certainly can if you check us up on the Next Level app. The shout out to the boys over there at Next Level for constantly, being great support and, helping us get out and up there. But you can find all our social medias, the YouTubes, the Twitches. You could see social media posts, our clips from our reviews, some shenanigans that always goes down. It is fantastic. And then I will cover more housekeeping stuff at the end of what to expect, because boy, howdy, we have a next 2 weeks that is about to get out of hand. It's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait.
It's going to be busy.
It is definitely going to be busy, especially for me, but I'm super excited to talk about it at the end. But Jesse, let's get into this week's, Ring of Honor episode. Another hour-long episode. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna complain because
No, I was happy with the timing of this one.
I was too. And I can only speak for myself, but by the end of it, I was like, damn, I kind of wish I had 30 more minutes. Like, darn, I was like, it actually went by really fast and it was pretty decent. But we kick off this week's episode of Ring of Honor Honor Club, episode 83, with a singles match. Of course, you know, no stranger to us and to the ROH universe. We had Action Andretti coming in to take on local talent, but not local talent and new to me, but maybe to many folks, and former ROH champion and ROH, you know,
TV
roster
title
member.
champion,
Yeah, Tony Deppen. I was so happy to see Mr. Tony Deppen here. See, and I'm gonna bring this up, especially during the Brian Cage match. A lot of these guys was like, "Hey, I know you. I've watched you on GCW a couple of times, so I know where we're going." Oh, this is fantastic. But yeah, so Action Andretti being accompanied by Leo Rush takes on Tony Deppen. You know, I'm kind of glad to see Action kind of going out on his own a little bit. And you know what? I thought this was a pretty fun opener. Was it the most technically sound? Not really, because Action is more of your high flyer than anything. But I thought this was fun. And it was nice to see Tony Deppen kind of give it to Action and make him work for this victory. But of course, Action goes over here. I thought this was a fun match. Jesse, how did you feel about our opener this week on Honor Club 83?
So I wanted to like it. I like seeing Action come out without Top Flight on his own. I like that he's moved away from that whole hydration situation thing that he was trying to make happen that he's not doing anymore, thankfully. So it's just like, I like silly, but that was too silly. I don't like fun. So JVL won't be rolling his eyes way out where he is now, but I don't like fun, but I like some silliness. That wasn't the right kind of silliness for me. That being said, the match to me didn't feel like it was in the right spot. It was okay. Like it was well worked, but it was a little boring, honestly. And that's not how I wanted to open the show. So I would have switched this into a mid card and moved one of the mid card matches to the opener. And we'll talk about that match when we get there. But aside from that, I mean, it was well worked. I didn't think it was anything exciting, but you know, it wasn't bad wrestling. Just didn't really do a whole lot for me.
Right. And you know, the story we've been telling with Top Flight, at least in ROH, is that they keep getting wins, but we haven't done anything with them. And then, of course, because ROH is all over the place in the grand umbrella of things, it seems that they want to go after the House of Black. And I was like, boys, I don't think that's a good idea, but hey, I'm all here for it.
That's a bad idea at best.
Apparently everyone wants a piece of House of Black right now. It's kind of crazy. So, hey, but I ain't mad if that means we get to see more House of Black on my screen. I'm not going to be upset.
I'm always down for that.
Oh, absolutely. But
House always wins.
Yep, absolutely. But speaking of people who don't always win, we go backstage and we get this. I don't even know if I call this a promo. Let me just get this out the way and then we can talk about this. So we have the Iron Savages of Boulder, Bronson, and then of course Jack Jameson. And so these two, Jack Jameson starts cutting a promo, and then it goes off the rails really quickly, really down fast too. The only thing I wrote about this is I cracked up at the time, you know, the term meat riders. I was like, oh God, what are we doing now? I was like, that was funny. But as far as everything else, this was not great, Jesse. I was just like, this was all over the place. It started off one way and it went downhill real fast. What did we tell you, Ring of Honor? Do not let Jack Jameson talk. Just don't let him speak.
Let Bronson talk. He's much better on the mic. Like, the only saving grace about that was those two, Beefcake and Bronson in the background. That was distracting me from how terrible Jack Jameson was doing. So I enjoyed that part of it. But you had mentioned that it went off the rails very quickly. It didn't even get out of the station. And then, did he say meat runners or meat riders?
Meat riders. I had to go back to make sure I wasn't hearing things and being a pervert. But yes, they did say meat riders.
The MXM collection's tip touchers. I don't know what we're doing, especially with Dalton Castle not here too. So it's like, I don't know how to feel about this.
It is Innuendo City, and I don't know if I'm here for it or not.
Remains to be seen, like a glass coffin. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, normally when we get these promos, we're like, okay, we're going to wait until the evening to see it. No, we just went straight from here. We go straight into the match that involved the Iron Savages and Jack Jameson. Oh my goodness, it's crazy.
I was so conflicted when they came. The Iron Savages came out. I was like, cool. And then who's coming out? Dark Order's coming. Like, okay, so we've got Iron Savages versus the Dark Order. My first thought was, who's going to lose here? Because they both have a history of every time they're in a tag team, they lose.
I know. I was just like, all right, somebody is losing here. Both of you lose. It was great. But we do have the combination of Jack Jameson and Boulder taking on the Dark Order, being represented by Mr. Alex Reynolds and Mr. Hungy himself, John Silver, who I will never get tired of seeing. I love John Silver. Oh my gosh, he is great. Now, I will say this. I am still sad because, spoiler alert, Dark Order wins. So poor Iron Savages and Jack Jameson continue to be on a losing streak. But you know what, Jesse? I have to say, even with all the shenanigans and the tomfoolery, I actually kind of like this match. If for the fact I think, wow, Boulder has really grown into his own. And I didn't hate Jack Jameson in this match. Now, granted, he still is a little slow when it comes to being able to connect moves, move for move, but I didn't hate this match. And of course, the finisher from Dark Order is just chef's kiss moi. I love that finisher they do.
So Jack Jameson, they used him sparingly, and that was to his benefit. He looks a little less green than he has in the past, which is good. I would like to see this kind of go in the way of, like, I'm pretty sure Bronson's injured and that's why he's out right now. So he's recovering, which, you know, we wish him a speedy recovery. And I'm glad that he's still on our TV and they're doing something with him. But I kind of want to see this move into the Bronson and Beefcake going, wait a second. We keep losing when he's in the ring. Maybe he's the problem. And kind of turn on him that I had talked about last week.
Just have them discover, so like, we don't need you. We can do this on our own. Let's go. And then just go from there. I mean, look, as much as I don't like Jack Jameson, I didn't mind him at first when we put him with the Iron Savages, but I feel that once he started talking, I was like, yeah, don't let him talk. Just let him be there. Just let him be there. I don't hate him as the person, but he's not doing anything character-wise, and his in-ring work is still not good. But I will say it was an improvement this week because he, like you said, Jesse, he was used sparingly. But Dark Order pick up a victory. Do we know what's next for the Dark Order? Who knows at this point?
Do they know what's next for the Dark Order? No.
You know, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but we had a Bunkhouse Brawl match happen last week on a different program, and it got replayed here. So who knows what's happening with our tag team division, but we'll get to that when we get to that recap. But overall, for me personally, I thought this was a pretty fun match, and I didn't actually hate it. And you know what? Jack Jameson wasn't too bad in this. So then we get into our squash match of the evening, where we had the Living Dead Girl Abaddon taking on local talent. And I had to make sure I spelled it correctly. It's literally, I was like, is that how you spell it? And then when I saw how it was spelled on my screen, I was like, wow, it's exactly how I sounded it out. But it was Abaddon taking on local talent Livia. And I had to say it with those syllables because that is how it's spelled.
It's written phonetically, which is pretty funny.
I was just like, ROH, are you pandering to me this week? Because I thought I got a kick out of that spelling. But again, this was a squash match. Abaddon starts off by doing the, elongated handshake and then going straight into biting Livia's wrist.
Yeah.
And this match doesn't last more than maybe a couple of minutes before Abaddon picks up the win. We're continuing to build Abaddon's streak. And at this point, I was just like, so are we gonna have Abaddon cross paths with Athena and Billy this episode? Please do so, because it's been how many weeks since we've seen any more further development of this? But
6 or 7. But luckily we got that later in the night,
which we will get to because I'm kind of excited to talk about it. But Jesse, squash match. We love Abaddon, the Living Dead Girl here, and we love them so much. But how did we feel about our squash match?
I am over the formulaic ROH squash match. Like, give them some time. Even if they're local talent, give them time to shine. They're there for a reason. They can perform really well. It elevates both of them. Stop making them squashes.
Yeah, if you're going to have Abaddon win, you could still give them like a good 6, 7, 8 minute match. I mean, Lord knows that's how much you give the AEW women's matches time anyways. I'm just saying, give them more time.
Yeah, but that's total per week over 3 shows.
That is also very true. But of course, Abaddon picks up the victory. I will never complain of seeing Abaddon on our screen. Fantastic. So then we go backstage and we get a promo off, if you will, between Red Velvet and Diamante. And I was like, wow, we're actually having continuity. I will say
love
this.
the promo, but I like that they're doing something and building the story.
Right. So as far as the content of said promo goes, Red Velvet kicks it off and she basically throws Diamante under the bus and kind of points out, how long have you been doing this? 15, 16 years. And it only took me 8 years to become the Ring of Honor Women's Television Champion. I was like, but that's okay because I know what I can do. Can you say the same? Now, granted, I have, critiqued Diamante's promo skills because it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very stifled and stilted. There's no elevation to the words that she is saying. But I also wonder how much of that has to do with her upbringing, because as somebody who grew up in that life and knows people who are in that life, that hard exterior kind of way of speaking, it kind of just sticks with you and it doesn't necessarily change even when you have a change of scenery. But I have to critique what is on my screen. The promo could have been a little bit better, but at least we have a secondary women's storyline outside of what's going on with Athena and Billy. And actually, this one's getting more development than our ROH Women's Champion storyline is. Which, you know what? We're teasing that maybe Red is going to fight Diamante in her own wheelhouse and have some sort of crazy extreme match for this title, which I would not be personally against. But Jesse, how do we feel about the promo? And then how do we feel about it developing our secondary women's storyline in ROH?
Thrilled to death that there's more story being developed here. That was one of the reasons why I actually had fun with this episode when I watched it, is because they're showing that they're trying to build stories in time, because we do have a pay-per-view coming up eventually, and we know that they have been falling way behind the 8 ball in developing stories. So they're doing some things, planting seeds out, which I really enjoy. The promo could have been better. However, I will say I want to give my flowers to Diamante that they have really improved their promo skills since the last time they actually cut a promo, and I was very happy with that. Although I don't know if you caught it, but I bet you Kira Hogan would be a little bit upset at I thought with the way she said it was an innuendo at the end, because she was talking about the custom red title belt, but red would look better on me. I was like, are you hearing what you're saying here? Like, is that an innuendo here? Do we need to be worried about, like, this is now become a triple threat match?
Hey, you know what? If we get a triple threat between Diamante, Kiera, and Red Velvet, because they all have history together, I'd be here for it. And you know what? Speaking of Kiera, I wonder where she's at. I hope she's not injured.
I'm getting a little concerned.
I was like, we haven't seen Kiera Hogan in a hot minute, so hopefully she's not injured. But if she is, I'm hoping that she returns to ROH soon, because yeah, she's another staple of our women's division that we haven't seen in a hot minute. So, Kiera Hogan, if you are injured, we wish you a speedy recovery. And if we not, we look forward to your return to ROH or wherever else you may pop up, because we love you.
Put them in a feud with Rachel Ellering. We know that would go really well.
Yes, I would love that so much. All right, Jesse, we're going to get into this. Like, I don't know about you. For me personally, this next match was my favorite match of the whole entire evening. Only because I have a bias to both of these individuals in the ring, but not necessarily a squash match, because this was more competitive than I thought it was going to be. But we have the Machine, Brian Cage, Mr. Swolverine himself, aka Adolfo's baby daddy, taking on local talent. And I screamed like a little schoolgirl, because as someone who is now entering the foray of GCW, I'm like, oh my God, I know him. But Brian Cage takes on local talent and GCW, wrestler Alec Price. This kid is amazing. If you have not seen any of his matches in GCW, y'all need to seriously go check it out, because he is a good combination. He's a good time of combination of high flying and excellent wrestling as well. He is going to go places, and he kind of showcased what his style of wrestling is all about against a larger opponent. I love this match for the fact that not only it was more back and forth than I thought, but I love that Brian Cage made it an effort to kind of sell what Alec Price can do as well, because some wrestlers don't put over their opponents in subtle ways. And I think Brian Cage is a consummate professional for doing this. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Of course, Brian Cage picks up the victory, but damn, man, Alec Price is probably so much fun. And Brian Cage, I can never be mad at. So I know I'm biased. This was my personal favorite match of the whole entire episode. But Jesse, I would like to hear from you as someone who is not too familiar with Alec Price. What did you think of this match between him and Brian Cage?
Well, this is my first time seeing Alex Price as far as my memory serves, which we know is faulty at best. But I was really impressed by him. I was impressed not only with his work style, but he sells really well. And I want to see how he develops. And since he's in GCW, maybe I'll try and catch a couple of his things there. But, I was very impressed by this match. I knew Brian Cage was going to win. But this was one of the squash matches where I actually enjoyed the story of getting there. And Brian Cage just kind of turning it on and hitting those 3 power bombs and then like an F15. And, oh, man, Alex sold those so well. Like, he looked like he's gassed. Like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm just going to lay here and take a nap. So I enjoyed the match overall. I was happy with it.
And honestly, I feel like if ROH took those approaches more with the squash matches we get from week to week, I honestly think I would have less of a complaint for them, because half the time when they give us squash matches, it's like, we could have did something else here. But this is one of those cases, like if it's a little bit more even and we get, as you said, we tell where we're going a little bit more than what we're normally used to, then I won't be complaining as much. I feel like this episode, ROH answered a lot of my biggest critiques the last couple of weeks. And I don't know if someone is sending them our videos or not, because these changes feel oddly specific to my weird ass corrections. Like, and
if they are, please contact us directly. I'm happy to talk with you directly. I will give you my phone number.
Seriously. For reals, like I'm not going to complain about like doing stuff for ROH. We love this brand. We want to see it succeed. But Pete, speaking of wanting to see things succeed, we want to see this tag team division succeed. But we get a recap of the Bunkhouse Brawl match for the ROH Tag Team Championships. And we also get the backstage social media promo from Dustin and Sammy Guevara. The match itself was actually pretty fun. Sammy Guevara, daredevil as he is, going through multiple tables in that match. We also had tasers, barbed wire, Dustin pulling out the family heirloom of the belt buckle and the belt itself. We also had Dustin taking Matt Taven and Mike Bennett for a ride with 2 nut grab suplexes, which was kind of wild to watch. It was a crazy match. Now, of course, the Sons of Texas is what they're officially now called as a tag team. But Sammy and Dustin have retained, and they're wondering, and they're ready to take on any and all challengers. I was like, are you sure? Because we want to see you guys do this more in ROH.
Yeah, if you're taking on any and all challengers, why aren't you on Ring of Honor then?
For reals. I'm like, whatever.
I skipped through the recap because that stuff it frustrates me, and I don't need to have my blood pressure elevated because, here's all your stuff for Ring of Honor titles, not on Ring of Honor programming. Stop doing it, please. I know. I complain about it every week, and I'm not going to continue, but the sentiment is there. Stop it.
Speaking of blood pressure rising, I'm sure that Billy Starks' blood pressure is slowly rising after everything that happened. But next, we get a tag team match with Billy Starks and our ROH Women's Champion and the longest reigning champion of ROH, period. It's not just women, it is period, between men and women. Athena breaking Samoa Joe's record. So now she is the longest reigning ROH champion in ROH history. And they take on the local talent, because this crowd was hot for LMK, because it was Athena and Billy versus LMK and Christina Marie. I love this crowd so much being behind the local girl. Like, yes, I love when the crowd actually pays attention and supports the local, wrestlers. Of course, this ends up being a squash match, but what was interesting is, thanks to commentary as well, Billy does a lot of the heavy lifting in this match, and she ends up wrestling more than Athena. But of course, Athena comes in and gets the final say and gets the pin for the win for her team.
It was a tap.
Yep.
It wasn't a pin; it was the tap for her.
Oh, that's right.
Isn't she doing that new submission? Now, what you call it, the hussy clutch?
Yeah, I was like, I still think we should workshop the name a little bit, but hey, you know what? It's another
I
meme in the
don't hate it. I've
arsenal.
heard a lot worse.
That is also very fair. But of course, she comes in for the tap and she ends up winning as Athena and Billy are kind of celebrating the ring. Abaddon's music hits and Abaddon comes down to the ring. I love this so much just from like visual comedy because Abaddon gets into the ring. Billy Stark steps up to Abaddon. Off to the side, we see Athena, and thanks to the cameraman, we see her roll out with her title. And so you can see Billy mouthing, "It's 2-on-1. What you gonna do?" And just like any perfect comedy, Billy turns around and she said she is by herself as Athena is shining her belt and like making it sparkle. And so Billy's like, "Ah, crap. Well, let's just do this." Tries to deck Abaddon, fails. Abaddon is able to try to get to Billy, but then Athena pulls her out of the way. And then she's explaining to Billy, it's like, "I was shining my title. I did not know." I'm like, the plot thickens. Not only do we continue to the inevitable clash of Abaddon and Athena, but Billy and Athena's dissension and breakup is on the horizon. Jesse, how did we feel about the match itself and everything that happened afterwards?
I wanted the match to have more time. Again, they never get enough time for the women's wrestling, but they're building a story. They're keeping it going. They're developing. They're keeping it interesting and exciting. I'm so happy about that. Billy plays her character so well, a little too well for me because I myself wind up getting feeling a little bit defensive of her. Like, no, what are you doing? Go in and help her. So like, I'm getting worried for her well-being. But again, I like the segment. I wanted the match to be longer, but I really enjoyed the segment, and I'm always happy to see anything with Billy and Athena in it.
I mean, honestly, we love those two. And then, of course, if you throw Abaddon into the mix, it's like pure perfection for us here at BC WrestlePod. Like 2 out of the 3 of them, we got a chance to talk to them. So I love them so much. All right. So I feel like me and Jesse are going to disagree on this semi-main event here because we had Johnny TV, Mr. Na 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 himself, take on Commander being accompanied by Alex Abrahantes, who not even a couple days ago got yeeted across the arena. Pac threw that man across the ring. It was kind of crazy to watch. I thought this match was going to be nonsense, and I was like, all right, whatever. We'll see what happens. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Jesse, I think I kind of actually like this match. I thought it was pretty good.
Please.
Okay.
This was my match of the night. This should have been
the main
event.
Yeah.
This match is fantastic. It had everything the opener was missing. Like, it was exciting. I didn't actually know who was going to win going into it. I loved every part of this match. We had distractions, but it didn't distract from the entire match. So I was all for this. This is what I want Johnny TV to be doing. He needs to work with the luchadors because he does so well with them.
That's what we've been saying. That's what me, you, and the rest of the boys have been saying for the last like 2-3 months is like have Johnny TV. We listen, for those of us who watch Lucha Underground, we know how insane Johnny TV can go, especially when he works with luchadors. We saw it there. Have Johnny TV, and Johnny's wrestling style is very reminds me of Lucha Libre. So let him work with the luchadors, like you said. Again, on paper, I was like, this is going to be a whatever match. And this, I agree with you. I liked Brian Cage and Alec Price, and I was very entertained with that match. But from a wrestling standpoint, from belt to belt, this is also my match of the episode, too. I was just like, this is everything I wanted ROH match to be. This is like the 13 minutes, 14 minutes of just good back and forth action. You said it, the distractions were there, but not enough to take away from the overall enjoyment of the match. And surprise, surprise, Commander wins here. He picks up a victory over Johnny TV, which
I wasn't upset at that.
Yes. I was like, he earned this one because Johnny was kind of bringing it to him, and they were
they both wound up looking strong as the result of this. This is what it can be and should be.
I love this. It was so good, and I'm so happy that we both agreed this was our match of the episode. If we can get this every single time for a couple more matches, like I might be changing my tune. Which then leads us into our main event. We have an ROH Pure Championship match. And you know what? It wasn't as great as I wanted it to be, but I didn't hate it. My biggest complaint, well, okay, so first we have, Lee Moriarty defending his championship against Preston Vance. There's problem number one right there. I'm like, Preston has 2 wins in ROH and he's already getting a championship shot. I'm like, what
Was
the
it a championship shot or was it a proving? I thought it was proving ground match.
No, according to what they touted it as, it was for the championship.
Okay, that knocks it down a bit for me now. But go ahead, continue.
So I was just like, this man has 2 wins and he's already in a championship match. What the flip? So Preston comes out and listen, we are called BC WrestlePod for a reason. And even when he was -10, whether he's -10 or Preston Vance, I was like, hi, sir, call me. But
stop it. Focus.
No. Jesse, you have to, it is just me and you. So John JVL is not here to balance that out for
He's
me.
here. He's here. He is here.
I love it. But Preston comes down to the ring. Lee Moriarty comes down to the ring. You know what? With a little more work, and if we actually build this, I think Preston actually works in the pure division, which is kind of weird to say. That man, his lariats are dangerous to watch, and they are dangerous to hear, because when they make contact, I was like, I think I heard somebody's bone break. Like someone got a windpipe crushed. But my biggest problem is, as much as there were spots that I enjoyed, and of course, Lee Moriarty is fantastic in my eyes, but Preston only got 2 wins to get this match. Like, what are we doing? Usually you have to win 5 before you get to call your shot. And I will say, though, they also fixed mine and yours weird correction, because we got a flipping timer.
We got a timer.
We got a timer. I think that was the best part of this match. We have a timer. But Jesse, how do we feel about this championship match? And I'm just like, and we have a timer.
I was excited for the timer. The match itself was fine until the end. Like, you finally have a timer there. You have a chance to get your audience and your crowd invested in the match, watching the clock count down. And then he ends with a quick roll up with 3 minutes left. Like,
it was very delayed roll up too. Like,
it didn't even seem like there was a devastating move hit before it. It was just an inside cradle hold roll up, and he gets pinned. I actually went back to rewatch. I was like, did I miss something? Like, I thought it was, maybe this is a false finish or something, but no, that was just it. So as much as I wanted this match to be really good, and it could have been, I feel like they really flubbed up the ending.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because I felt the same way. I was like, okay, we're getting close to, the end. Lee's gonna do something crazy, and then he just kind of just rolled him up in 1, 2, 3. I was like, what? I was like, and then he rolls out like he was like, oh snap, I'm about to get my ass beat like I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, like I got away with it.
I was like, sir, you just rolled him up with no like setup or him trying to do something. You didn't pull the shorts. It was weird.
And if they were trying to go for a got away with it thing while he exited the ring so quickly, that's not something that Lee Moriarty's character needs. That's something you have like a Tony Nese pull off or an Ari Daivari. Like Tony Nese did it with Ethan Page when Ethan Page was still on ROH, and it worked for his character. It doesn't help Lee Moriarty. It makes him look cheap.
No, and I'm just like, y'all had this man win this title, and like you could. I know. I'm just like, again, if Preston had worked his way up to this, I don't think I would be as mad. But because of that, and the fact that Lee did something that is a little out of his character, even for him being a heel champion, if you even want to call it a heel champion, I was kind of like bummed out, because I was like, I thought there was the contents of the match itself. There were some really cool spots, and I thought this was some shiny moments. But the beginning and the end of this match really kind of whomped it for me. I'm like, oh man, like I liked it. I wanted to love it, if that makes any sense.
I was happy we had a pure rules match. I was happy we had what I thought was a proving grounds match turned into a title match. Not thrilled about that, but I was happy to see the title represented. I wanted it to be so much better than it was.
It definitely was. And it kind of sucks that this ended on a sour note a little bit, because that brings us to the end of ROH episode 83, Jesse. So let's do what we normally do here at the Bro. Let us use the empanada scale to give our final ratings for this week. I will go first. So, again, I don't know if I was just in my happy place. I don't know what I was on last night, but I actually, from beginning
Mikey,
to
phrasing.
I was high on happiness, you guys. Like, that's where I was.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, of course. I actually really thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Now, of course, I still had my, commentary glasses on, and I have to critique the product that I see because that is what we do here. But you know what? I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I thought some of my minor complaints about some of the things that we talked about already. I still thought this was a pretty fun episode of ROH, and I feel that if we continue to improve and build upon the things that we said were good in here, I think ROH could possibly find itself back to where we want it to be. Again, time will tell, and we'll see what happens with that. But I give this like a good 7.5 empanadas for me. I had a great time with this one, and even with my critiques, I still thought there was a lot of strong stuff here. There was a lot of bright spots, a lot more than the last couple of weeks that we've had. So, Jesse, your empanada rating, please.
Okay. So the way I'm looking at this is I'm trying to remove any kind of rose-colored lenses as I'm looking at this as a whole, not just tonight, but I'm saying progression over the past 5-6 weeks. The promotion itself, Ring of Honor, has felt like it's been on its ass and a bit listless. This week it seems like they finally got themselves back up. They're not standing, but they're up. They're off of the ground now. And if they continue to build on this, how this week went, where they're developing stories, where they're highlighting the wrestlers with the right kind of other wrestlers that complement the wrestling styles, where the pacing's good, a couple of the matches I would have shifted card-wise, but if they can take this as a, hey, this is kind of a litmus test for us, this is where we want the bar to be at the minimum, and build on from here, I could see the promotion doing really, really well and finding itself back into where it was when we first started watching this over a year ago. For me, it was a 7, which is pretty high for me because I don't rate all that high, but I was happy with the overall with this night.
I agree with you there. I think 7 and 7.5 I think are fair. And honestly, for me, I enjoyed this episode, and I'm glad that there was some fun stuff for you too, like we talked about. So, Jesse, let's bring it in. We put our hands in to end the review together. And I am so happy that even though it is still a duo, and who knows if it's going to stay a duo, depending on how the next couple of weeks go, but honestly, I'm kind of happy to have you as my tag team partner in this. Jesse, wouldn't have it any other way.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to get somebody to talk wrestling with. Everyone seems to be dropping out, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. They've got lives, they've got things going on, but I'm glad you and I are still here and able to do this each week.
We are still going on with the Iron Man match. That is life. I love it so much. Alrighty, so before we sign off for the evening, just a couple of announcements. Like I said at the top of this episode, we've kind of had a breathing room the last 2 weeks. We just had our normal reviews for all the shows. But business, as they say, is about to pick up, guys, gals, and non-binary pals of the internet, because it's about to go off. So beginning next week and for the rest of the year, you're going to be watching a lot. But what's to come in the next 2 weeks is outside of our regular reviews. Next week, we will have our WWE Bad Blood review. Myself, the Professor, and Minnie will be reviewing WWE's October pay-per-view and talking about did the Dominic in a shark cage match actually live up to what we wanted it to be, and what is truly going to be main eventing? Is it going to be Roman and Cody versus Bloodline from Wish, or is it going to be CM Punk and Drew McIntyre in the Hell in the Cell match? Only time will tell. But then don't touch that dial, because then the following week we are jumping on over to the land of All Elite Wrestling, coming to us live from Tacoma, Washington for AEW's Wrestle Dream. We know that it is going to be Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Poor Darby lost his chance on Wednesday. I'm so bummed out. But from there, it's only going to get crazier, because we have TNA's Bound for Glory, WWE Survivor Series, MLP, the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling's Forge in Excellence, which is going to show a lot of ROH talent on that show, which is going to be fantastic.
They're in the wrong part of Canada. They need to be in the eastern part of Canada, so I could go there, but they're in the western part.
That is very fair, but we have a lot of things coming up. But that is going to be it for us here at the Bro. So remember, as always, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you later, but until then, sayonara, adios, and Tune in a couple hours for TNA. But until then, laters.